I am a firm believer in that we all have different callings. And I think the youth is mine.
Yeah.
I think that I have been given a conviction to ignite something in the youth or help to fuel the fire that is already burning in different youth to get them to be the people that they should be in society.
The Soul Engineer back again with another episode, with another season of the podcast. I'm here with my boy Masimba, and today I have with you a special guest.
Hi.
Masimba is just there like he's frozen, but he's just listening.
No, I'm listening. I thought you were going to introduce her or something. She is the president of the Global Runway, motivational speaker, all-round wonderful person. It is Pako Lekoko. Welcome to the podcast.
You know the vibes.
Wow. What an introduction. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming here. I always expect you to be such a busy person. So when you gave me time, I was like, yes.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, today is one of those busy days, but I was like, let me find time for my boy, let's do this.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. But on a more lighter note, how have you been? How's things going on your side?
Things are good. I'm back in Botswana now, so
okay.
Things are different, but things are good.
Yeah.
But I will say that things have been quite busy, as you did point out. There's a lot that's been happening. With the runway and other things. But yeah, overall, I've been good. I've been very good.
That's good to hear. And update your viewers, please. Where have you been? What have you been up to? we know, but other people don't know.
The people must know.
The people must know.
Okay. Maybe let me start from conception of the runway.
Okay.
Okay, no, let me predate that because other things happened before that that ultimately came to the conception of the runway.
Okay.
So I was a student in the UK for 5 years. First started with my undergraduate degree, BSc honors in actuarial science with a year in industry at the University of Kent. For my year in industry, I interned at Deloitte Consulting in Botswana for about 9 months. Had an opportunity to go to South Africa for a bit, learn a bit more about the actuarial service line there in Johannesburg. After the 9-month period, I applied for a summer internship still within Deloitte. And it was still considered as part of my year in industry. And I was part of the Deloitte Total Benefits and Rewards team, which is a fancy way of saying pensions consulting. So I went back to the UK for about 2 months. I was in the Leeds office and I worked there for a bit. And during that time, so that was maybe I should say that in Botswana, I worked across 4 different service lines. So it was data analytics, which was the main place where I was stationed, strategy and operations, human capital, and corporate finance.
Yeah.
But yeah, fast forward to Deloitte in the UK. So this was in 2018. And during this time, I had I'm going to call it a nagging in my spirit to start this thing called which is now called the runway. There was actually a time that I was going through some of my old journal entries and I was talking about this thing. I don't even remember what I called it back then, but I just felt like this thing is something that needs to happen. Personally, because of my own experiences, having studied abroad and what challenges I faced and the different things that I really came across that ultimately they were not great. They were spread across different spectrums. or rather the whole spectrum of my life. And they ultimately affected me as an individual in those different spectrums. So at this time when I was at Deloitte was kind of at the height of when this nagging became really serious. And I couldn't take it anymore. And I started talking to people, and we ultimately started to build this thing that is now called the Runway. And ultimately the Runway is, hey, how do I even put it into words? The Runway is a youth-led nonprofit organization, which ultimately aims to support international students that go away from their home countries to go and study abroad in different countries. And what we aim to do is give them information about these different places based on our own experiences, based on other people's experiences around us, to support their transitions by giving them tips and advice about things like accommodation, also allowing them to have access to people who have gone through the path that they're either thinking about going through or are actually on at that time. And for them to share their experiences so that they can make more informed decisions, such as what country should I go and study at, what course is best for me, what university is best for me, stuff like that. And within the different programs that we offer a mentorship program. We offer opportunities and forums for students to come together, speak about the different things that they're doing, the different challenges that they're facing, and ultimately try to find solutions within that same community of students, What else do? We do a lot. We run skills development workshops, one of which, or rather our very first, which will be next week, Saturday. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm trying to think, what else do we're here for the student. Whatever needs that the international student has, that's what we're trying to fill. Currently, we are focused on Botswana, but our vision is to roll it out to all of Africa. In due time. I don't know when that will be, but we're aiming for that. What else have I been doing? Apart from the Runway, I have at times been involved in business activities, varying business activities.
Businesswoman.
Oh yes, it has to happen. It has to happen. Different varying business activities. Some of which have, gone down the drain and failed for different reasons, and some of which are still, up and running, and some of which are being born as well. I do hair. I think I'm pretty good at it. I blog. I do social research. I am yet to release the first report on a bit of research that I started a while ago and kind of off-tracked for different reasons. But yeah, be on the lookout for that report. It's about regret, to societal regret, and how that comes about, what people actually regret, particularly Africans. And why they regret such things. Stuff like that. And I also tutor. I am actually about to officialize or launch tutorial services for university students as well. And these will primarily focus on things like communication skills, so your academic writing, your presentations, reports, and we will also offer editing and proofreading of documents and stuff like that. But we will also offer more tailored tutoring to students. Say if you have an issue that you are facing, you don't understand a particular thing within whatever subject, you would tell us, and then we would endeavor to find somebody who can be able to help you to understand it and explain it to you.
That's
amazing. So going back a bit on when you said the organization is aiming to help potential university students or actual first-year students, I would like to ask, what was your experience as a first-year student at the University of Kent?
Hey, which one? There were a lot.
All of them. We want to hear them all.
Your favorite one.
Okay, so I cannot pinpoint one specific thing, but I think it was a combination of different things. First of all, I'm going to this completely different, like completely new place I have no knowledge of. Yes, fine, you know, there's your Google and you can find things out. You can go on the university website. But the truth is, you will never really get the full picture and full essence of where you are going unless you speak to somebody who has actually been there or you have been there yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I did neither because, well, actually, I did do a little bit. I spoke to somebody who was at the University of Kent, but it was just about, you know, general stuff. I don't even particularly remember what it is I asked, but I just made contact and made sure that, okay, I do know somebody who is, who is actually there. I did not follow the conventional student route of finding on-campus accommodation in my first year.
Okay.
Because it was expensive.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That
It
doesn't
is.
make sense.
Accommodation is crazy expensive.
So what your girl did is she went online, searched for places. She's like, this is a pretty good place, pretty well priced. I mean, they say it's not far from the university campus, good transportation links, close to
You make this
supermarkets.
work.
We can make this work. You know, I'm winning. I'm saving money and I'll have all these things. I mean, what
What could a girl want?
What could go wrong?
You know, homegirl bought this place and I don't remember if I paid the deposit or whatever, but I secured the accommodation. So when I arrived, and at the time, I was traveling with two other people who were going to the same university, who were going to do the same course.
Yeah.
And we traveled together. One of them was staying on campus, and the other decided, okay, you know, let's stay together in this accommodation. I want to save money as well, you know. So I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm with this guy. Yeah, we're cool, you know. We get there, and the house had issues, you know. It wasn't the best place to live in, and not to delve too deeply into the details of what was wrong.
It sounds deep.
Yo, yeah, it can get crazy.
Sounds
It can
deep.
get crazy.
But, you know, I got there first day, just to give a glimpse. The kitchen was in total disarray. It was a mess. Everything was dirty. There were cobwebs everywhere, and it was really bad. It was so bad.
Yo.
I mean, but my room was okay. It was tiny and it was like a little shoebox, but you know, it was okay. I mean, I made it work, you know?
Yeah.
So first of all, that experience wasn't great because had somebody actually gone to do the viewing for me to see the place and actually give me real information about the place, not information from somebody who's trying to get money from you coming there, then it would have really saved me a lot of trouble and I could have potentially found a place that is far much better.
Yeah.
So that was one experience. You go to this university, you don't actually know how they teach, because I will say that the teaching style, as much as, you know, we're in Botswana and we learn as we go through, you know, primary school, secondary school, and, you know, A levels, we are given this illusion that we are taught the English syllabus, or like, you know, England. You get there, do you understand that these are lies? It's different.
It's all different.
It's completely different how they teach. Maybe the material might be similar or the same, but the teaching style is very different. So it took me a very long while to actually, first of all, come into terms with how exactly it is they teach, because I did not have a prior understanding of how it is they teach.
So how do they teach?
Hey, bad Roger.
It's a conversation.
Like, I don't know. Like, yes, they're giving you the information, but I think what they do is, instead of, you know how here, what they do is they give you information and they tell you, this is what you're supposed to know. This is what you're supposed to know. Right? No, take this, you know, it's very, no, they give you all the information. They delve into things that may not necessarily even be examined or examinable. And they go into the history of how things came about. And I think what they do is they really challenge you to think and come up with your own answers from the information that you are given.
Yeah.
So it's very different. It's so different from what I grew up being used to. And
Yeah.
had I had this information beforehand, it's something that I could have been prepared for, or endeavored to actually prepare myself for, and not be so, kind of hit by a bus when I actually encountered it,
Yeah.
What else? Tips like where to actually shop, because in my first year, I can say that I spent so much money
Can
on
relate to
things that I
that.
should not have spent so much money on, because I didn't know where the right places to shop were. I
Yeah.
didn't know, what is a good deal and what is not a good deal.
Yeah.
I had very little concept of, yes, fine, I could convert the money to Bula, which was a bad idea.
Bad idea.
I
Always.
convert the money and find out how much it is I'm spending. But the truth is, I didn't have a concept of the currency. I did not know what was too expensive.
Yeah.
So
Purchasing
had
power.
I had that information beforehand, or had I had a source that I knew would be willing and able to give me this information, without feeling like I'm kind of bothering them, then it would have made the journey much easier for me.
Yeah, I get you.
And also, I think one thing that is really the most detrimental thing that might have happened is that you move into this new place, completely different social signals. You don't know the culture, and you are kind of thrust into this, I don't know, the sense of disarray and disconnection from your home.
I get you.
Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it, but you feel so alone, and your mental health is really challenged.
Just
In that
It's a culture shock in all aspects.
yeah.
In all aspects, as much as you've watched TV, you've read a little bit about this place, you get to find out being there is very different.
It's a tangent altogether.
Your usual support system is no more, because I think that's something that we take for granted.
Yeah.
Being home, being able to have conversations with people who've known you your whole life, or at least for a very long time, and having those connections with those people, physical contact, and we take it so much for granted until you get to a place where it's not there, and you're like, what is going on? Like, what actually is happening to me right now? And that's the other thing. You don't actually know what you're experiencing. You don't actually know what you are facing. And worst of all, you don't know how to sit or how to counter it and navigate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in my first year, those were my major challenges.
Okay,
I
interesting.
can relate to about 90% of those.
Yeah, the first year was kind of a mission. So like also adding to that, like, how was your experience on campus with making friends and associates? Were there like certain clubs, certain, what can I say?
Yes.
University-oriented organizations, which let you be in contact with other Botswana or with other Africans? Was there anything of that sort that maybe you were introduced to during orientation week or something like that?
So I'm gonna think back to my first year and what exactly it is I did in my first year. Yes and no. So yes, those clubs were there, those societies are there, those those platforms to meet people, you have things in common with and all of that. But I don't think I really took them up that much in my first year. Thinking back, I don't particularly know why. I think firstly, it might have been because you might not know this, but I am largely introverted.
You lie.
I'm so serious. I am largely
Why you lying?
I smell the cap.
Dog. Yo.
I am largely introverted. So, being in, yes, fine, when I am in spaces and I have prepared my mind that, okay, this is what we're going to do today, and we're going to meet people and we're going to talk to people. This is our mission. I get into that mode and we do it,
Yeah.
But I really enjoy spending time by myself, and I keep a very close and tight circle of people around me. Yes, I have many contacts and many associates, but sometimes social activities and being around people can get a bit much for me, right? So I did not fully engage in societies and stuff like that as much as probably a first year student should. And coming from Botswana, where this thing is not, it wasn't that big of a thing. Even through my secondary school years, I wasn't really, involved in that many clubs. I think I can remember being part of choir at one point. I can remember being part of the traditional dance club. But that was about it, that look on your faces.
Hey, bro. I just had flashbacks. I'm so sorry. Yo. Yo. Hey, man.
But yeah, in primary, maybe that's where I was more, socially active, the sports, the clubs. Yeah. So I did not really engage that much in societies and extracurricular activities. And maybe that was part of the reason why, I got into that space of, just feeling so disconnected.
Yeah.
So disoriented.
Yeah, I did, however, take part in the actuarial society that was at my university. It's called the Invicta Actuarial Society.
Yeah.
And I was the stage 1 representative and stage 2 representative. So 2 years consecutively. I also worked. That's how I met people. Actually, I worked.
Money.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have to say that.
The bag must be secured.
Always.
I worked. I worked in a nightclub.
Yo.
I worked in the on-campus nightclub.
Yeah.
Met very many people, even on nights, like people, when nights that I was working, people would come out and, we would strike good conversation. It would be good fun,
Yeah.
I'm not really saying that I've met people and, had long-term relationships with them from meeting them while they were out and I was working. But, people that I worked with, I did maintain relationships with that did evolve into real friendships. Or rather course mates as well. Kept contact with them, and that's how I met people. In normal settings, not in settings that kind of placed there and you're told socialize. I can't.
Yeah, I don't like.
But yeah, I've been able to foster those relationships from just everyday life, going through the motions, schoolwork, or rather school, class, and working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me bring you back to something. You mentioned you were in the actuarial society in your school. And I don't know how we forgot to ask this at the beginning, but what is an actuary? What is actuarial science like? What's that?
That's a hard question. I don't know. So an actuary is, think about this. Think about an actuary as somebody who calculates, mitigates, and goes about finding ways that are creative to reduce your risk, your financial risk.
Oh, financial risk. Okay.
Yeah. So we take into consideration things like probabilities, so mortalities, and so the rate at which things start or are born and the rate at which things die or come to an end. And we take into consideration, depending on what it is we are actually calculating, because actuaries span across different industries. You've got life insurance, general insurance, you've got investments, and you've got like pensions. How could I put pensions? So the kind of things that go into actuarial calculations are very different, but the fundamentals are the probabilities of different things happening, and also the rate at which things
change,
are born, and at which they die. Yeah.
Sounds like some maths
That's the
intensive
simple
stuff.
definition, eh?
Yo,
Yeah,
That's the simple definition.
that's some calculated gambling, dog.
bro.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
But then moving, like fast forwarding to when you obtained your degree and you came back to Botswana for your first internship. How was it coming back home? What was the experience like? Was it another culture shock again, like reverse culture shock? What were your feelings during that time?
Reverse Uno.
Okay. So there are different periods at which I came back to Botswana.
Yeah.
So the first time was during my year in industry where I was interning here. And that was like a sandwich year. So within my degree course, I did my first year, second year, did the year in industry, and then did my final year.
Oh, okay.
Coming back, to be honest, I don't think it was too much of a culture shock at that point because every year, first year, second year, I made sure that I would come home during the holidays.
Yeah.
So I was still kind of, connected and in touch with how things are and stuff like that.
You're
But
up to date.
I think one thing that I do remember is that with each visit that I did make to Botswana, each subsequent one, my level of anxiety, my level of social anxiety went up.
Yeah.
Like in the first year, it wasn't that bad. I was excited to be home. I was like, yes, summertime, nice time. Second year, right? Second year, it was a little bit like, okay, I'm home. Okay. And then maybe like a week, 2 weeks, I was back in it, I was good. We were ready to go. And then, subsequent times, it just became a little bit more like, oh, this is different.
What's this now?
What is this? Until finally when I finished my master's and I came back, and I think 2 months, I was still really jittery about being away from home and being in spaces with other people. And I couldn't go out without actually having somebody there with me who I knew, which was very strange. But yeah, it gets very, it's different, man. It's different, So there is that culture shock aspect of things. But my experience interning in Botswana was absolutely amazing. I think it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. My job experience was nothing short of amazing. You know how when you watch movies and you watch movies about consultants and they live this extravagant lifestyle and it's super sexy and it's exciting. That was my life. That was me.
Yo,
goals, eh?
Goals, real goals.
I had a beautiful time. I had wonderful team members who I still am in contact with today, who are very supportive and were very supportive even then. My seniors, my supervisors, very supportive people I'm still in contact with today, people who are, cheering me on at every point, people who I turn to for advice about different things, and people who are there for me when I need it. When I started the runway, actually, one of the senior managers there, who's now the consulting partner like for the consulting aspect of business, was sort of my sounding board for the idea. I reached out to him because, well, first of all, we have a good relationship, and also he has expertise in the field of project management.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was like, to me, no thoughts about it, no second thoughts about it. This was the right person to speak to.
Yeah.
And he gave me some really valuable advice on how to go about things. And in the beginning, I will say that I was thinking about something quite small. He's like, "Pako, are you kidding? This is huge. This could be massive." I'm like, okay, yes. So I think, you need people like that who can actually kind of shake you and say, "Oh, are you serious? You can do better than this."
Yeah. I think that's
but
important.
my experience interning was absolutely amazing. And then ultimately, when I came back, like I said, after my master's degree, I I really struggled to re-assimilate back into society.
Yeah.
I don't know if I fully re-assimilated. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not as bad as it was in those first few months. And the fact that, you know, it was COVID times as well.
Ish.
And having been in isolation, first of all, in the UK for quite some time. Okay, summertime and we were with other people.
You
But
guys, Europe in the summer. Yo, guys. These people need to be Can I just tangent? This side, people literally, it's almost as if COVID was like a myth, you know. People just stopped behaving as if no masks, no gloves, the malls were just wide open, the beaches. I was like, yo, you people are gonna die. But anyway, it's vibes. I'm just gonna go on my holiday as well.
same,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
it's the spring break vibe, so
Yeah.
understandable.
right?
Yeah,
But yeah,
continue.
you know, having come from those COVID conditions of being isolated in March and then coming back to Botswana and having to be in quarantine as well, more isolation.
Yeah.
You know, I think my mind was already now in that, okay, isolation mode. And it was hard for me to now come back and be a part of society,
Ish.
i.e., going out in public, you know, meeting with people, and actually, I'm going to say having healthy interactions with people.
Yeah.
It was a bit challenging. And then there's the added effect of being, you know, okay, I wasn't graduated yet, but I'm about to finish university. And what's next? How do I even apply for jobs in Botswana? Like, what's the process? Like, how do I do it? You
That
know,
grown-up stuff.
Ish, adulting.
adulting. So it was very difficult. But you know, I didn't die. Here I am.
That's what matters for the
Yeah,
most
it's-
part.
Yeah, but it's difficult. It's difficult, and what I have noticed is, or rather, what our research has shown is that students who study, you know, abroad really struggle to reintegrate back into society.
Yeah.
They struggle to get jobs. They struggle to click with the culture again after being exposed to a completely different culture and
Different
living
culture.
in that culture for so many different years. It's
Mhm.
difficult for them. There's so many students that I know today who have studied abroad, who've come back and they are unemployed, having done, you know, such
Amazing.
really, really good degree courses that could potentially diversify our economy in so many different ways, but they are
Yeah.
unemployed. And, you know, it brings up a lot of controversial questions and could start a lot of controversial debates, but, you know, it's not pretty. It's not great.
Man, I think what I wanted to ask in that regard, especially to the student coming back, like, does society have space for that student who's come back once they get back home? You know, a lot of our parents often think, you know, go out, go study, you come back, you know, you're gonna get a job easily, you'll level up easily, you know, you have a degree from Mahatse, you know. In real practical sense, I think you have a close experience. Is there space for people like that?
I think not as much as we think there is.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, fine, you've done this wonderful degree abroad, but do remember that some of these degrees are offered in Botswana. And the students who are in Botswana and have done these degrees in Botswana have a greater understanding or a better understanding of the market, the industry. They have had an opportunity to create contacts in Botswana, whereas you were away and maybe did not have the opportunity to create those contacts.
Yeah.
So they are more well versed with what they're getting into than
What's
you
exactly
are.
happening?
Yeah. And then another thing is that some I personally haven't experienced it, but some people have, you know, kind of said that employers veer away from people who have studied abroad because they're too smart. Hey,
Guys.
Actually, I do remember hearing something like that. I think there's someone who visited. I don't know whether Katla will remember this.
Yeah.
Like John McKinney.
Oh,
And
yes.
she was talking about how she was overqualified.
Bro.
And they couldn't like afford to pay and stuff like that.
She was doing her PhD in economics from a university in Canada. I forgot which one, and she
I
couldn't
think it's
even
British
get an
Columbia.
intern. Yeah, UBC. She couldn't even get an internship. Like that was man, that was sad.
Yeah, so
It's actually
they're too
crazy.
smart. They have extravagant ideas. They want to change things too much. And, they're just not. And it kind of defeats the purpose of even sending them outside, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If
it kind of
you-
does.
Exactly. If the society is not ready to take on those changes and ideas that we have ultimately gone out to go and benchmark from the rest of the world to try and lift our economy to be a
Yeah.
part of, the international market of whatever, then it defeats the purpose,
A lot.
And it's really funny that you should ask that question about society having space, because recently I did, I don't even know what to call it. It was a series of, it was a discussion. It was a discussion. It was a series of discussions around artwork that was produced about the international students' journey.
Wow.
The project was called The Reach. And
Gotta research
a
on
very
this.
talented artist, a friend of mine called Kanunu Lechupi, who, drew these sketches, and they're very beautiful. I'll actually share them with you. And he drew these sketches around the theme of reaching as part of another series that he had done called The Well is Dry. So the well is dry. Yeah, the well is dry. So the well is dry is just pretty much conceptualizing the fact that we leave home thinking that we are going to greener pastures and we are going to carry water from the well abroad. But you get there and the well is dry. It's not what you thought. It's just, So that was the theme of the discussions. And we talk about so many different things, including, how it is that we felt, what were the conditions of us leaving the country. When we got there, what was the initial feelings, what the initial experiences, then what did they evolve into? Then we ultimately speak about, the psychological effects, the pain that we feel, the disconnect that we feel, and then ultimately, rising from the ashes, which some people don't do, because a lot of people really crumble and they fall and they break apart and their lives are changed forever because of the fact that they have gone abroad, and it killed something in them and it broke something,
burnt them out.
Exactly. And they were unfortunately unable to become those bright leaders that they were intending to become by going abroad, But yeah, the series is very beautiful. And I know the last time I spoke to him, this is something that we did December, January. Yeah, December, January, I think. November, December, January. I don't quite remember. But he was saying that he is going to be releasing the series soon. And, I'd be happy to provide information about that so that you can have access to it. But yeah,
if possible, we'll like to link it in the description for others as
please.
well. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and another person who was a part of that project was, oh my God, Lamont. His last name is Loeto. Yes, Lamont Loeto, who was the person who went to Ganunu and said, so I have this concept that I would like to turn into a clothing line. Can you sketch out for me, this is my vision. I'm thinking, something around reaching and eyes and pain. And, they did,
eyes.
They had their creative, jargon talk, whatever. And Ganunu just didn't produce one sketch. He produced 7.
Wow.
7. And it turned into a whole movement, So yeah. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Wow, that is actually amazing. Especially when you spoke about how it's kind of restricting and there's so much dilemma with being a student who goes abroad.
Bro.
Because also as an international student, when you're in that country, there's more difficulty in finding internships, and also your chances of getting connections might be difficult. And when you go back home, because you did not have the educational experience in that country, then also there's that alienation. So I'm guessing that's what the organization, the Global Runway, is trying to tackle as one of its main, what can I say, goals. So I wanted to lead that with asking you, what is the main purpose of the Global Runway?
It's to produce whole individuals that are trained and educated internationally. So I say whole because what we have noticed is that the psychological, emotional, mental space of a person who studies internationally is what is most affected. Yes,
it changes altogether.
It changes altogether. Some for the good and some not for the good. But that is what is in the bloodstream of what we are trying to do. Getting people to stay in the stable mindset, getting them to be self-aware so that they can navigate their mental and psychological space as well, getting the information that they need so that they don't experience the breakdowns that we experience, getting information that will help them to, develop skills that will make them employable, skills that will make them competitive even in the home market, getting them linked to people who are here, who are industry professionals, who can be able to offer assistance, offer guidance, offer advice, and one thing that we also want to do as part of, handling or dealing with getting the mental space clean and, proper is getting a mental health professional who can be able to, well, maybe not one, but some mental health professionals who can be able to help students and give them counseling services or avail them to students, because that is one thing, like that's another thing that a lot of students have spoken about, not having access to these services because either they're really expensive, they can't connect with the people, there are long waiting lists for the free ones. So there's a lot, and we're really just trying to remove and solve the problems that we ourselves face, so that future cohorts of international students don't have the same brokenness that we do, or don't struggle the same ways that we did.
You're just trying to bridge the gap that existed when you were still around, so that someone doesn't have to face the same terrible problems you have faced, or maybe a friend of yours has faced.
And that's part of our vision. We are the bridge between dreamers and their dreams.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Nice to hear that.
Things.
Slogan things,
yes,
bro.
sir.
Slogan things. Can I just bring you back to maybe the UK?
Yes, sir.
You talked about social signals and how they're all too different, all of them, like once you get there. And maybe we'll talk about the social signals back at home as well. But when you get home, when you get to the UK, when you arrive there, what social signals did you first experience, and which ones were awkward for you, and which ones did you have struggles with understanding or practicing?
First of all, they're suspiciously friendly.
It's sus.
Like, okay, it's great. Even in Botswana, we're a very social society, we are, rebatokabatu, and we greet everybody, and we talk to everybody, and everybody's, so wait, before we get there, even what I experienced as an international student in Great Britain is that you're walking on the street minding your business, or you're doing something and your eyes lock with somebody else. You get this 2-second smile, and then it's like, oh,
okay, what's this now?
Was this genuine? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. So I don't know if it's a genuine smile. I don't know if that person is, because we had that, and then they go and they're doing something else, or if it's just like, if you don't want to smile, you don't have to. Like, it's not by force.
No one's forcing you, bro.
But they're not horrible people. I feel bad because I'm making them seem like they're so fun.
They're not.
But that is something that I think was a bit difficult for me to kind of grasp. It's like, okay, are you happy? Are you really happy? Do you really want to smile, or are you just smiling because I'm a person? Is it because I'm black? And, you know, and having heard stories of how, racism this, racism that in the UK, you're kind of like, is it because, but I personally don't think I've had encounters that I could really pinpoint to say, they were racially discriminating against me, except one, that I was like,
Yeah, it's always one or two, to be honest.
Yeah. But they were very friendly people and I didn't experience any racism. Then the other thing is that they are people that generally keep to themselves. They are, I'm going to say, an isolated people.
Okay.
In that everybody's going about their business. Nobody cares about, the next person. If it's my business, me, I'm doing, and
it doesn't concern me.
Exactly. Whereas here in Botswana, it's very different. Everybody's in everybody's business. Sometimes
it's everyone's business, mate.
a bit too much, but it's like, for instance, the greeting thing. If I'm walking around in Botswana and I, cross paths with a stranger, the expected thing is for you to say Dumelang, or, some sort of greeting, a smile, a wave, something. But in the UK, it's a bit strange because if people don't really know you, they don't expect you to greet them, or, if you're not going to talk to them or strike a conversation about whatever it is that maybe you need help from them about, they don't expect you to say anything to them, and they can kind of be a bit confused when you do.
Rather rude.
So it's just like, oh no, I was just saying hi. They'll like, oh,
okay.
Thank you. And it's a bit strange for them. Also, I think the other thing that that is sort of stemming from that same isolation thing is that you would create relationships with somebody. Maybe, for instance, you're in first year and you strike a relationship with somebody, and it's going well, and you feel like, no, this person is my person. We are people, and down the line, a few months, maybe, you see them after a while, and it's as if they don't know you. They just pass, and it's like, did I do something? I don't understand, Whereas here in Botswana, once you don't even need to know somebody's name. Once you had a conversation with that person is your friend. Well,
simple.
It's simple.
Straightforward.
Doesn't get harder than that.
So social interactions are a bit more complicated when you get out there because you don't really know what your standing is with this person. Does it mean that, when I am in a certain space that you and I have a relationship and we can talk and we can converse and, have that social interaction, but when we are in different spaces, we don't know each other. That was something that was a bit difficult for me to kind of come to terms with. That was a bit difficult for me to kind of place and really get a grasp on. Other things. Oh, this is a silly one, but this is something that I to this day still kind of struggle with. When, how in Botswana, when something happens, when something bad happens to somebody else, you're like, sorry, But there, it's like, if something happens, somebody drops something, you say, oh, sorry. They're like, why? It's not your fault. Like, no, not sorry that I did anything, but I'm sorry that
it happened
to you. Yeah. So it's those little things that are quite subtle that ultimately you realize this is so different. Yeah. Then there's other things like how when you are parting ways with somebody or hanging up the phone or something, and the other person will say 15 million goodbyes, and it's like, okay.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Goodbye.
yeah, thanks, bye. It's like, okay.
No, but there are parallels to that. Let me explain. In Bots, it's for us, it's not goodbyes, it's more of hellos. Our grandparents or our parents, when we have neighbors like cross in the hood, it's Dumela, Litsurile, hey, yo, guys, you guys gotta start.
And that's the thing. And I think what also I've noticed is that, like in the UK, people are a bit more direct about why it is they're contacting you. Hi, how are you? I hope you're well. So this is what happened, this. Whereas in Botswana, you're expected to, have a conversation about their well-being first, a very long one. And then at the end, then you tell them why it is your contact.
It matters.
Right. I subscribe to the UK one. It's like, hi, this is what I want from you. Whereas here it's like, hi, how are you? I'm fine. Why are you talking to me? Like, what?
Get to the point. Get to the point.
You know?
How's the family? All this.
Yeah. It's like, but you don't even know my family, and we have never had a conversation. You know,
like, how's the wife? I'm single.
Bro. Exactly. Be like that.
You know, so those subtle differences and not so subtle differences that are also quite, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
One thing that also kind of stands out is that, okay, no, I have two more things.
Okay.
One thing, the cars actually stop for pedestrians in the UK.
Yes. I can actually relate to that one.
When you're walking on the road, you don't need to run. Even if you are standing by the road and you don't have right of way, these people will stop.
Wow.
And allow you to pass. And it's like, this is different. I'm not running for my life.
That's for this other country of ours. Mama.
Guys, for me, I still can't relate because South Africa is probably even worse. The taxis.
Like, bro, like even on the zebra crossing, bro, like cars are expected to stop.
Who wants to run over you?
Niggas
like the guy can see you start crossing, he accelerates. Like, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Yeah, living in Africa is just so
that's a very different thing.
Yeah.
And in the UK, I think that's where I learned that I was Black.
I can actually.
That's where I learned that I was Black. You know, it was not everybody, but most people, you know, are Black.
So
and you get to the UK and predominantly white. At first, I didn't really like it. It wasn't really a thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Until you started noticing like subtle differences where sometimes it could be an instance where you are, I don't know, given subtle what? Preferences or privileges as opposed to other people who are not Black, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, like Black History Month. In the UK, I felt like Black History Month was every month because it was a lot. And it really bothered me because the Black history that they're talking about is not my history. It's Black, but it's not Black everybody.
Yeah,
it's not Botswana. It's not African history. It is Black people in places where they were taken to be slaves history. You know?
Western,
Yeah. So I think those were the main things that were a bit kind of like, okay, this is different, you know?
Yeah. No, that's obviously abstract. Like everyone has their own social nuances that they experience, and everyone, Russia, Cape Town, Botswana, UK, it's just all different. But another question would be so obviously in the runway you don't work alone, right? You have a team, and there are people who you entrust with certain responsibilities.
Yes.
When you're building this team, what really are you looking for? What inspires you when you want to build a team? What do you want?
Is this because you have an upcoming interview?
No.
We see you.
You actually saw that email last night. I'm like, oh, okay. Like when I got preparing. This is not even, hear me out. For the sake of record. So I got the email last night that I've been selected to be interviewed for the runway, which is good news. And coincidentally, at that same time, Masimba and I were preparing the questions. We were preparing for the podcast. It just so happened.
Oh, you saw it and you're like, this question.
Not even. I didn't even make this.
Yeah, he was very adamant about it. Like, no, this
you also frame me. You're joining the frame train. It's okay.
You know me, sell out all the time.
Can't. God.
No, guys. Give the boy hints.
Okay, so yes, I do not work alone. I work with a brilliant team of young people who are stationed all across the world. To make this dream, come to life. What am I looking for? First of all, do you actually believe in what we're doing, and are you enthusiastic about it?
Yeah.
I'm looking for brilliant people who are ready to be leaders and ready to change what the current trajectory is and set a new way of life for the international student.
Yeah.
I am looking for people who are self-motivated, people who do not need me to, kind of hold their hand every 2 minutes and be on some, okay, do this box, colored red, and then this one, put a 2 there. I need people who are creative, people who are not afraid to express themselves, people who are ready to do something different for youth leadership. People who are, I don't even know what to say. I'm looking for awesome people. But yeah, just all around leaders who are ready to take up their place as leaders in society, people who are confident. And even if that confidence is not where, maybe if I see you and I can see that there's great potential in you, that maybe you have not gotten a revelation of as yet, that doesn't matter, because being a part of this team will completely motivate you, and we will help you to develop your skills to get to that point, of being the great and awesome leader that we know you are. But yeah, I'm pretty much just looking for people who are about the vision, that embody the vision, that are ready to bring the vision to life. And of course, yes, there are specific skills for specific posts that are outlined in the different job descriptions. But ultimately, these are things that I am looking for in every single member of the team.
Those are the core values.
Yes, sir.
And it's actually interesting. Segueing from a statement that you made that you want people who are youth driven. I want to quote one of your blogs from the website where you said, if given the right motivation, the youth will push and the walls will fall. The question is, which walls will our leaders point them towards? So I just wanted to ask, like, what ignited?
I wrote that.
Yes, wait, now English. Wow. So the question I wanted to ask was, what ignited your passion for the youth develop, especially in Botswana, and what progress would you like to see in that regard?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, my passion for the youth comes from the fact that I am a youth, and I realize that the power that is there is present in the youth. The youth are very creative people. The youth are, this is gonna sound cliche, but they are the future. Because right now, the people who are, I'm going to say generations, above us, are people who have lived their lives, and people who are, I'm going to say, trained in the years of, past. But as the youth, we are trained now, for instance, in a more digital world, in a world which has an outlook of what the future could be. We're creative, we are powerful, we are passionate, we are bold, we are, man, we're badasses, And given the opportunity to actually explore what this badassery is, and actually get to the point where we develop the skills that we have, those competencies that we have, those interests that we have, if we're allowed to make our own decisions and get to a point where parents are not leading every step of the way, where somebody can say, no, this is what I am passionate about, and I can do this in this industry. I want to do this. And actually given the platform to create those solutions to the different problems that we see. Or even if we're not given the platforms, if we create the platforms ourselves and do it, that's something that we are capable of doing. That is something that we are capable of bringing to light and just changing the world. That is why I am passionate about the youth, because we are the future. I think it's something that really I don't know, but I cannot remember a time when I did not think this way. I am a firm believer in that we all have different callings. And I think the youth is mine. I think that I have been given a conviction to ignite something in the youth or help to fuel the fire that is already burning in different youth to get them to be the people that they should be in society. Yeah. So what I would like to see with regards to the youth and maybe, what did you say? Use the word.
Yeah,
youth.
like what progress would you like to see, maybe at least short term, with regards to youth development, especially in Botswana, or we can even say in Africa as a whole?
That the youth should stop waiting for somebody else to save them. That the youth should stop waiting for answers from outside.
Facts.
I want to see the progress. The ultimate progress that I want to see is the youth coming out of their shells and saying, I have a voice and I'm going to use it. I have hands and I'm going to use them. I'm not going to wait for the government to come up with a solution because I have that solution myself in my mind. And if I come together with other youth, we can create something that is far much more powerful than what I have seen in my life. I want the youth to stop being so scared and just stand up and do something. And stand up and do something for themselves, first of all. Stand up and do something for their societies. Stand up and do something for their continent. Because Africa has the youngest population in comparison to other continents.
Yeah, that's true.
We are, do you understand? I feel like we are the brains of the world. I was actually watching something, the other day. It was a movie, a Kenyan movie. And it was a comedy, okay, so bear with me.
Okay.
So this woman lost her job, right?
Yeah.
And she was on a call with her brother. And her brother said, since you lost your job, you should apply for that visa to go to the Canadian visa, and you go to Canada and look for, greener pastures. And she's like, no. Honestly, I feel like these visas are modern day slavery. I was like, okay, sis, what is this?
Bars.
Because young minds that are bright leave the continent of Africa and they go and develop other people's countries.
What's that term called
and
again?
I thought about it.
Something decay. I don't know. There's like where like intellect leaves a country to another place, and then
Honemo.
It will come to me.
That is a loss of resource in Africa.
Major loss.
And other parts of the world are utilizing these resources. Hence, you see people leaving Botswana and going to leaving Botswana, having been overlooked in the different jobs that they were doing, having been overlooked. Maybe if their businesses were not doing well because people didn't see value in them, they go to other countries and they start making it big.
And they are valued there.
They are so much more valued because those people, they recognize the value and brilliance of the mind. And they take it and they harvest it and they harness it into their economies. And that's why their economies remain strong, because the brightest and boldest from Africa say, okay, this Africa is stifling me. I will go to where there is progress. And they get there and the progress is there and the progress is made and the fruits are evident. So if we get to a point now where we start to realize that we have very powerful minds of Africans, and we get to a point where we use our minds for the benefit of Africa by collaborating with other people in other places in Africa, by collaborating with people within our own society, within our own communities, in our own villages, in our own households, in our own households, we can get to a point where we develop an Africa that is
beautiful,
mind-blowing.
That is beautiful.
And
I think from this we can see that natural resources are not the only things being harvested from Africa.
It's not.
Ideas are being mined. You get minds are being mined from Africa by other countries.
Heavily.
And I think all that roots from, as you said, a lack of implementation, a lack of actually putting that idea into action, despite lack of government support, despite maybe support from the people who you hold dear to your heart. So like you said, I think it's time for us to actually realize that the only way for us to move forward as a continent is to actually start doing stuff, is to start implementing those ideas we have.
Yeah.
If they fail, there are more ideas to come. You can try something else. At the end of the day, you're going to add way more value, and we can become more of a financial giant as a continent that way. That's just how I feel.
And when I was thinking about it, it's really sad to see the very same people who have the ability to fix something go and fix someone else's property.
Yeah.
Uh like hanging on to what you were saying of, we need to recognize that we are the brains. We also need to recognize that no one else is going to fix our house or our place besides us.
Yeah.
And it starts off by accepting that Africa as it is could be better. What am I trying to say by that? Africa they're in a really messed up state right now. And the more we leave and go to other places, the more we're just worsening the problem instead of trying to at least find some way to fix it. We're more or less running away from the problem instead of coming back here and seeing, okay, man, my house is messed up. It's time to get this house in order. We are the brains that could get Africa's house in order. Yeah.
I'd like to maybe say two things from what you just said.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think to say that Africa is in a messed up state is also maybe perpetuating this conception, like this concept around Africa being kind of the depressed continent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's also the mindset of a lot of people, including Africans.
Especially
but the truth
Africans,
is, I personally don't think Africa is in a messed up state. I think Africa is in a state of dormancy and sleep.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. And if this, African giant can be awakened, the world is going to shake.
It's going to shake, yeah.
And another thing that I was going to say is, I think as much as we can speak about how the youth, and also, okay, maybe non-youth, but like how African minds should start considering investing their minds in Africa as opposed to going outside, we shouldn't neglect to also think about the reasons why we choose to do that. The African continent is not one where things can easily happen. Like change is something that it doesn't come easily to Africans.
Yeah.
For different reasons, firstly, the tenacity it takes to actually implement change is one that a lot of people don't generally have, and they choose the easy way out. Where they could, for instance, start implementing this idea. Obviously, it's going to be difficult. Change is never easy. But then when, life pressures I'm not trying to say these people, they're not determined, because life happens.
Life happens.
If you need money to live and you also want to progress and your career and whatever, and this thing that you're trying to do is taking a very long time and it's not paying you, you start thinking, yeah, no, I won't die for this. I need to start looking out for me, my family. Exactly.
Because no one else is gonna look out for me.
Exactly. And then there's the other thing that, as an African society, our culture says, young person, you keep quiet. You listen to me, the grown-up. You don't know me, I know. So you must keep quiet.
I've been here longer than you.
Exactly. And that thing is stifling a lot of young people because they are caught between having this brilliant idea that could potentially be the solution to whatever problem that they are thinking about solving, and now thinking, oh no, I'm being disrespectful to my elder. Maybe I should just keep quiet and leave it alone. Other people will take care of it, hopefully. And then there's the other issue of these same elders now taking these brilliant ideas and stealing them from the young people and not implementing them in the same way that these young people could have implemented them. And then that young person facing the challenge of now dealing with the demotivation of this person stole my idea. I can't do it as them. They have more resources than me. I can't, I won't make it. And also feeling like, this person has that reputation. They've already established themselves in the market. People will be more willing to go with them. Who am I? I'm nobody, And then there's that, that mind distortion as well. That you don't have a good self-image of yourself, and you don't think you're badass enough to do it. You feel like other people might be better at doing it, and that's the problem. I think ultimately that's the actual problem. Problem is in the mind. The problem is in the mind. And if we can, deal with the mind and get the people with the platforms to make it a bit easier, so that we don't have to construct new ones all the time, then it would really be easier.
A lot easier.
It would be definitely easier. Ideas are like a seed, and when we stifle these ideas, it's like cooking our seeds. We're never going to bear any fruit from them. So moving on, we know that one of your next events as the Global Runway is the employability series coming out on the 10th of April, as you mentioned.
Next week.
So what do you hope to get out of that series? What do you hope that people will learn? And what do you hope, everyone will improve from that? Like, what do you hope for people to get from it?
Okay, firstly, I think the obvious thing is employability skills. The ability to present yourself as a good candidate for a job.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
CVs, first and foremost. A lot of people don't know how to make or produce good CVs. They don't know how to actually construct the different parts of a CV and how to communicate how awesome they are. I know a lot of people who are really good and they have really good skills, but when you look at their CV is not a representation of them.
Exposed.
I had to call myself out.
It's not a representation of who they are, So firstly, the skills of how to construct a good CV. Secondly, cover letters. Cover letters are important. And I think cover letters are a way of getting a recruiter to actually see a more vivid picture of who you are and what you do. Yes, the CV, lists, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, this is who I am, and it has a specific structure. But then with the cover letter, you get to express yourself more freely, I think, where you don't necessarily have to have a specific structure. You can use the words you want. You can express yourself, show this person that I command English very well and I can write. So there's cover letter. I would also like, participants to get knowledge about other ways to show recruiters that they are good candidates. Things like LinkedIn, which I think is very underutilized by the youth. Because we are busy with Instagram and Facebook.
We want all our jobs from Facebook.
We want all our jobs from Facebook, but LinkedIn is a really, really great place to, set up a professional network, first of all, a professional persona, build that image so that people can know the professional side of you. I mean, personally, I am not as active on LinkedIn as I should be as well. So in all honesty, I'll also be learning, And then we're going to talk about personal websites. These are also a way that, people can show recruiters or show the world who they are and what exactly it is that they're up to, what they're doing, their full portfolio. There, they don't really have restrictions on what to put or how long it should be or, stuff like that. There, they are able to express themselves. And by looking at somebody's personal profile or personal website, you are able to see in full the person that they are,
what they're up to,
in more perspective, the kind of person that they are and what they're up to. On top of that, getting, I keep reverting to students, getting individuals to understand the different parts of recruitment process and what exactly recruiters are looking for in those different stages of recruitment. From your application to your telephone interview, role playing, video interviews. What else is on there? Assessment centers, group activities and stuff like that. What exactly are recruiters looking for? What do you need to do? What do you need to show recruiters in certain stages to show them that I am a good candidate and I can do this job?
Yeah.
Because yes, having the skills, having the competencies, being able to do the activities is one thing, but recruiters are always looking for little extras that they don't necessarily make as explicit as the activities of the job, and then also getting to learn from the experiences of other people, which is like the final session. The third session is going to be a panel discussion with different youth that are doing different things, who have been employed in different places as students, and also after they've graduated, people who are involved in different things across Africa, to kind of broaden the mind of individuals or participants of this webinar series, of the possibilities that are out there, to have that aspect of inspiration and motivation, not to despair if at all their employability journey hasn't been a great one, and just to get the youth to get to a place where the youth advises the youth, or the youth interacts with the youth. And yeah, I think ultimately it's just to increase the employability skills of the youth, because we all know youth unemployment is a huge problem in Africa.
Yeah.
And some of these things might also be, rooted in the fact that the youth don't know how to present themselves well to recruiters as good candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I'll be looking forward to that. Hopefully, I can make some few tweaks to my very fraudulent CV. And, so yeah, this was a really great podcast. Thank you so much, Pako, for joining us and for giving us your time and giving us insight into all these different things. So yeah, everything on the Global Runway is going to be in the description below. The website is going to be down there, all the social media handles. So yeah, this is us signing out. If you like the video, please do like and subscribe if you're new, and leave your thoughts in the comment section.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
Wait.
Peace.
Wait. Pako, let's say people have questions for you. Where can they ask you these questions?
There's different places where people can ask questions.
Okay.
So firstly, you can just go onto the website for the runway, and submit contact form where they ask different ask whatever it is that they want to ask, or say whatever it is that they want to say, and also they can contact me or reach me at my personal website. I almost said profile. Personal website. It is Pako Lekoko strikingly.com. Man, I don't even. I'll give it to you.
We'll link it down below.
Yeah, we'll just link it in the description.
Yeah, my personal website. Honestly, I think those are the best places to reach me. Facebook, you can drop me an inbox on Facebook. I'm not really on any other social media platform like your Instagram, and I think it's too much effort. I don't have
I agree with that.
And also they can contact me on LinkedIn.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now we can sign out.
Yeah, now we can sign out. Hey, missing the important piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Pako.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. This was a really great discussion. Yeah. I thrive on conversations like this, so I'm really happy that you had me.
Yeah. With those words, Masimba, Pako, and I are signing out. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, folks.
Peace.